You want to talk about taking a knee for the national anthem? How about the government in Britain taking a knee to sex trafficking rings? How about the government in Britain taking a knee to radical Islam trying to destroy Great Britain? How about taking a knee to free speech and arresting an individual for his right to free speech? That's taking a knee. That's pathetic. That is an entire country taking a knee to child sex trafficking and violent religious extremists.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
All right, we are waiting to get the latest from Alex Jones on the Tommy Robinson developments. Did the radical Islamicists that have taken over multiple wings of the UK government just sentence Tommy Robinson to death for reporting? And why? I mean, if you really, it should all start here. Why was Tommy Robinson arrested for reporting on a court case, not even inside the courtroom, not doing anything to incite violence at the scene, just reporting on the facts of the case? I mean, should we arrest the people inside the courtroom that we're talking about this case as well? And then you realize Tommy Robinson gets a worse punishment for standing outside the courtroom and reporting on cases of child rape than the actual rapists. Tommy Robinson is deemed as public enemy number one when it comes to Britain's government, not the rape gangs and radical Islamic sex trafficking that has invaded their country since the open borders policy was initiated. But I guess if you're Sadiq Khan and you're the mayor of London, well, child sex trafficking and pedophile rings is just part and parcel now. That's just part and parcel to the UK. And if you want to complain about that, you see, you're the problem and you have to be shut down. And you know, these police officers that are taking Tommy in, you know what? I'm sorry, you're a bunch of spineless cowards too. Because you know damn well what you're doing. It'd be one thing if Tommy Robinson was outside of a mosque in the middle of some ceremony, some religious ceremony, shouting at them, calling them all rapists, telling them all that they're openly allowing rape gangs to operate and ignoring it. Okay, maybe then law enforcement might have to stop in and do something, but that's not even the case. He's standing outside of a courtroom on a street peacefully, reporting on known cases that are already in every other mainstream news outlet. So he could have been sitting there, standing on the streets, reporting on news, just reading from other news outlets. All he would be doing is just reading from other news outlets. Would they have arrested him for that? Yes, they would have. That's what they did. He may not have had the physical news story piece of paper in front of him reading from it, but he might as well have. Would they have arrested him then? But again, I watched that video, roll the B-roll again, guys, of Tommy Robinson being arrested. And you just pray to God this is not the last video of Tommy Robinson you ever see. You hope that these police officers did not just send Tommy Robinson to his imminent death. You hope that that's not the case, that you don't have radicals inside the UK government that want Tommy Robinson dead because of his free speech. You hope that you don't have a radical Islamic religious wing taking over the UK government that wants to make an example of Tommy Robinson and show the rest of Britain, Britain has fallen, radical Islam runs the show now. But that is the message that would be sent if the worst happens to Tommy Robinson. And I watched that video of him, what we hope is not his last video of him getting arrested. I look at that video, and I almost see it in his eyes that he knew what was about to happen. And I wonder if Tommy Robinson didn't go into that day realizing what he was going to do, understanding the bigger picture, and like Obi-Wan Kenobi facing down Darth Vader on the Death Star, lowering his lightsaber and allowing Darth Vader to strike him down just to show everyone who Darth Vader really was, and to then move the momentum in the direction against Darth Vader. That's what is happening. And that's why they have to have a media blackout of Tommy Robinson. That's why they won't allow Tommy Robinson to report. That's why they don't let the media report on Tommy Robinson or the child trafficking sex rings. Because they know if you report on that, they know if you report on Tommy Robinson, they lose. Because Tommy Robinson is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And now the radical Islamicists are Darth Vader taking over England. And again, there's nothing wrong. If people want to be Muslims in England, that's fine. Oh, but if you're going to run sex trafficking rings in the name of your religion and then use your religion as a cover, well, then, yeah, that's a problem. If you're going to have open borders and then have a known agenda to bring in as many Muslims as possible, whether you think it's for diversity or whether there's a radical element of this that wants to make England fall, well, then, yeah, you want to make an issue of that. You want to put light on that. That is a problem. That's what Tommy Robinson did. That's why he got arrested. That's why they want him dead. That's why they don't let the media report on it. Because if you report on Tommy Robinson, if you show Tommy Robinson, then you see how radical Islam is taking over. Then you see how the government is taking a knee when it comes to child sex trafficking. That's what this is. You want to talk about taking a knee for the national anthem? How about the government in Britain taking a knee to sex trafficking rings? How about the government in Britain taking a knee to radical Islam trying to destroy Great Britain? How about taking a knee to free speech and arresting an individual for his right to free speech? That's taking a knee. That's pathetic. That is an entire country taking a knee to child sex trafficking and violent religious extremists. That is the media taking a knee to child sex trafficking and violent religious extremists. That's what this is. And, you know, you don't want to believe that this is the case. You don't want to think that you're here hating a group of people. But the facts are the facts, ladies and gentlemen. The facts are the facts. Look at the numbers of the Muslim population in Britain. And you say, okay, well, what's wrong with that? Well, I don't know. Why does crime increase at the same rate? Why do all these radical Islamic sex trafficking rings keep getting exposed and arrested and brought to trial? So maybe there's not something wrong with Muslims coming into England, but we have all these facts that are directly correlated with radical Islam coming into England. So maybe we should report on it. Oh, you want to report on it? We're locking your ass up. And by the way, radical Islam has taken over, so we're going to send you to the radical Islam jail and let them kill you. And that'll send a message to anyone else in Britain. You think you can stand up against radical Islam? You're going to die, because we're in control now. And you hope that that's not the story. You hope that's not the case. But I'm seeing it all happen, folks. And no one else will report on this. You're not going to see this on television news. You're not going to see this on BBC. You're only going to see this at Infowars.com and other outlets that have been fair to Tommy Robinson. So we're going to have the update with Alex Jones on the other side. But, folks, this is why your support at InfoWarsStore.com is so important. This is why they're trying to sue us into a crisis. This is why they try to dehumanize us with the fake news. This is why they attack Alex Jones all day. This is why they want InfoWars shut down. We will report on this. We will not back down. We get these exclusives because they know we will tell the truth. So unlike the rest of the spineless media in this country, we're going to report on the facts and we're not too scared to do it. So on the other side, we're going to hear an update on the Tommy Robinson case from Alex Jones. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are waiting to get the latest from Alex Jones and Kaylin Robinson on the Tommy Robinson developments. So stay tuned for the latest on that. You know, ironically, I guess this is a campaign that Snapchat is doing, and it's 100 Years of Beauty. And the one that I saw, I'm not sure, again, I don't know if this is a campaign, if they've done others, but the one I saw was 100 Years of Beauty, and it was Iranian women. And it's funny because you watch this, and it starts out with the Iranian women in the oppressive hijab. Then it goes into the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, and the hijab is gone, and they start experimenting with makeup and different hairstyles, and you're like, oh, okay. Oh, wow, they're okay. Then it hits the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, and they still do the makeup and hair, and then they put the hijab on over it. And so you don't even see the makeup, you don't even see the hairstyle. And Snapchat is celebrating this female oppression as Iranian beauty. And it's hilarious that in the actual video that Snapchat puts out, they show you how the Iranian women went from being oppressed to being free from the oppressive hijab to then going back to the oppressive hijab. And they just kind of roll it out like, oh yeah, all cool, all trendy. And now the crew is rolling all the footage of all the Iranian women that are ditching their hijab now. Yeah, it's a symbol of female oppression. It's a symbol of dominance over women. It's a symbol of treating women like a second-class citizen. This is what the most extreme versions of Islam do. This is what countries do that are run by Islamic extremists. In Saudi Arabia, they just announced this year that women can even drive a car. Who knows if that's even going on? But then Snapchat makes it trendy. Oh, the hijab is trendy. Oh, Linda Cockroach Sarsour says it's trendy. Yeah, there it is right there. That's literally it. Thank you to the crew. They have a couple of the snapshots. So there you see it. Okay, 1910s, 20s, the oppressive hijab. 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. They start using new hair, new makeup. You're like, oh, okay, there's some beauty stuff. Okay. Then it hits the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and they're right back in the hijab. But the crazy thing is, they still do all the hair and all the makeup, and then they put the hijab on over it anyway. I mean, whatever. I'm just saying, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I just find it ironic that Snapchat is using this as a trendy thing like, ooh, you know, this is freeing and tolerance and diversity in Iran, beautiful women. And then they actually show you how the oppression of women in Iran has developed over the years. And they don't even get it. They don't even get it. And then the average leftist thinks that the hijab is a symbol of women's empowerment. I mean, I guess if you're doing it as like a joke or something, I just don't get it. I mean, it's all so bass-ackwards. It's like, how do you even wrap your head around it? Like one of the crew members was talking to me in the break. He was like, don't you understand that Tommy Robinson is the one being treated like a pedophile? So the actual pedophiles, I'm a hijabi feminist. What a, no, you're not, well, okay, fine, whatever. You know what? I don't get it. Tommy Robinson is the one that gets treated like a pedophile. Tommy Robinson is not allowed to go in front of a courtroom. Tommy Robinson has restraining orders. Tommy Robinson is the one on probation. Not a violent offender, just a guy whose free speech is considered offensive, and so he's the bad guy. He's the guy that gets multiple years in jail. He's the guy who has restraining orders and can't even have free speech anymore. But the actual radical pedophile gangs get short prison sentences, get covered up by the media, and they even say, well, we have to be tolerant. This is just their heritage. This is just their culture. And we also want to be tolerant and diverse, so we're going to continue to bring them in here. But then if you mention that it's their heritage and it's their culture, see, you're going to jail. So think about that too. So you even have the courts saying that you have to listen to these people because, well, raping children and sex trafficking rings is just part of their heritage, part of their culture. So we have to accept that. We have to be tolerant of that. That's our diversity. But if you report that, you're the bad guy, you're fake news, your free speech gets attacked, you're not allowed near a courtroom, you're not allowed to talk about it. So then they act like it doesn't exist. The media doesn't talk about it. Media blackout. They say, oh, it's the religion of peace. But then they admit, well, we kind of have to be tolerant of this and understand that this is just where they come from, and there's going to be some child sex trafficking and some grooming by these, radical Islam rape gangs, and that's just how it's going to go. So be tolerant and accepting of that. And then again, if you report on it, though, you go to jail. You're public enemy number one, not the radical child raping gangs. They're allowed to operate. It's part of their culture. And if you want to have a culture, as somebody in England, if you want to have a British culture, well, see, that's not tolerated. You see, we can't tolerate that. I mean, it's so screwy. It's like, how do you even wrap your head around it? I guess just like a hijab, and then call it freedom. So wrap your head in all the madness, call it sanity, wrap your head in the hijab, and call it freedom. That's what this is now. Now, I've got stacks and stacks of news that we need to get to, but we're going to hopefully hear the latest from Alex Jones on this Tommy Robinson situation. Again, it's all developing right now, and no one else is going to cover this stuff. There's a media blackout on this. You're not allowed to cover this in England. No television media in America is going to touch this. And it goes beyond just the radical Islamic rape gangs that have been moved into Europe. This is a free speech issue. And if you can litigate people's right to free speech out in the courts, that's an even bigger free speech issue. Why isn't the media all over this? Fine. You don't want to touch the radical Islamic rape gangs that went into Britain? Fine. I understand it. You don't want to touch that. You don't want to seem hateful. You don't want to be controversial. Fine. Don't touch it. Don't talk about the child rape gangs. Fine. Whatever. Don't talk about the child grooming to be sex slaves. Fine. Don't talk about that. You're too big of a coward. I get it. Why won't you at least talk about the attack on free speech? Why won't you at least say, hey, here's a guy reporting on an ongoing trial from inside, standing on the street, and he gets arrested and sentenced to jail? And they'll say, oh, but don't you understand? The court said he wasn't allowed to do that. Oh, so the court says he doesn't get free speech, therefore he doesn't get free speech. Well, what if the court said that about you? What if the court decided you don't get free speech? Because that's what next. Tommy Robinson's fate is the fate of the UK.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
We can't extend this free shipping sale much longer with our best-selling items at InfoWarsStore.com. In fact, we can only run it a few more days. We're also running out of some of our best-selling items like our amazing nootropic Rainforce. It's $19.95. Leading competitors are $60 and aren't even as good. It's a great deal normally at $39.95. Rainforce, you've never tried it. This is a great opportunity. $19.95. Also, Alpha Power is 50% off. If you don't know what it's done for me and so many others for stamina, focus, libido, it does so many things. X2, even though we're having trouble sourcing the deep earth crystals of the good halogen iodine, I am blowing out the stockpile of it we have, at least for another few days, at 50% off. And then after that, it's going to go back to full price until we secure more of it. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. And thank you all for helping fund the second American global revolution.